You're having a good day, and then it hits you. It's that familiar feeling. You start to feel it in your stomach and in your chest. You start to hear those voices again, telling you that you could be better. Why aren't you better? Why aren't you richer, thinner, more muscular? Why don't you have more followers on Instagram? Now you start to think about all your past mistakes. Why you're not successful at your age. Why you're not married or own a house already. Why you're not more like your sibling or your friend or that millionaire you saw on LinkedIn. Why you're just not good enough. And it's not even 8 a.m. yet. Hi everyone, my name is Elisa. Welcome back to my channel. Feeling inadequate or feeling not good enough is something that I've been trying to work on for the longest time. But during recent events, I caught myself feeling this way again. The uncomfortable yet all too familiar feeling of self-criticism, doubt, blame, self-loathing, the whole shebang. But this time around, I was a lot more aware that I was feeling these feelings, and I got really curious as to why we never feel like we're good enough. So I did some research, some journaling, retraced my steps to the solutions that have helped me in the past, and dug into the root cause of it all. And in this video, I'd love to share some of the new things that I found, as well as some of the old ways that have helped me in the past, methods that I've tried and tested over the last 10 years. So let's dive right into it. First of all, why do we always feel like we're not good enough? In our modern world, there are a ton of triggers for this, for sure. But even in the quiet of it all, even when we don't interact with the world, or even when we do everything we're supposed to do to feel good about ourselves, like maintaining a fit body, or having a lot of friends, or winning a lot of awards, why is the feeling of self-criticism and emptiness still there? I found that even after venturing thousands of miles away and landing in a new country, those negative voices were still there, like as if I'd accidentally packed them in my suitcase with me. And that's when it struck me that this is more likely than not an internal thing. The turmoil wasn't just a byproduct of external circumstances, it was rooted deep within. I did some research and some reading, and I stumbled across psychologist Daphne Rose Kingma's book, When You Think You're Not Good Enough. And in her book, she unravels the concept of life themes. According to Kingma, everyone has a life theme, a significant psychological issue which they are working out in this life. Your life theme is created when a powerful emotional chord is struck in your childhood, and it is reinforced when similar events which carry the same emotional charge, reoccur throughout your life. She then introduces the 6 major life themes, which are neglect, abandonment, abuse, rejection, emotional suffocation, and deprivation. I think a very vivid example that I could probably give here is on the theme of rejection. So if you have ever painfully experienced rejection in your early life, such as a parent giving more attention to a sibling compared to you, or if you felt like you were never truly accepted for who you are as a child, chances are you might grow up believing that it's always something about you that is the reason for negative events happening in your life, such as a breakup or not getting invited to the party or the wedding, for example. But that might not be the case at all. You might think that it's something about your looks or your personality or something that you said 5 years ago during a class reunion or something that is the reason why you didn't get invited to, I don't know, Lucy's wedding, but maybe she just has a budget, or she just wants to keep it within like family or relatives or something. And the issue of thinking that we're always the problem, if our life theme is rejection, for example, is that we're gonna always want to seek the opposite of rejection, which is approval and validation, even if it comes from the wrong places. We're always gonna feel the need to be liked, which ultimately leads us down the path of people-pleasing. We're also gonna find it very difficult to feel valued and to believe that we deserve good things in life. I spent a big chunk of my life feeling this way. It is not fun. Our life theme intricately influences how we treat ourselves as adults. Understanding this, being aware of how it has impacted our past and how it's manifesting itself in our present, can help kickstart the healing process. And honestly, just because our past is imperfect doesn't mean we can't live fulfilled and purposeful lives. The poet William Strafford calls our psychological wounds terrible errors of childhood, and states that it can never fully be redressed in a single human lifetime. And for some reason, it was actually pretty liberating reading that, because it means that we don't need to go on this quest to fix our past when we can give that attention to our present and future instead. So now that we know one of the possible causes of why we never feel good enough, what can we do about it? I think the first step of this journey is awareness, because awareness is the beginning of healing. Often we go through life feeling so many things every single day, and we might not even be aware of it until one day we get overwhelmed and explode, like a balloon that's been accumulating water drops every day until it bursts. When I was abroad and finally had access to mental health services for the first time in my life, although limited, one piece of advice really stood out, which was every time you feel a shift in your mood or energy, write it down, along with the context or the situation of it. Do this for a week, and at the end of it, try to analyze how you felt throughout the week, as well as all of the triggers that have caused you to feel that way. You might actually be surprised by what you find. For example, if you suddenly feel insecure one afternoon, you might think that it was from seeing a post on Instagram, but turns out to be caused by a snarky comment from a relative about your richer cousin, for example. You might find that your mood or energy shifts depending on the group of people that you're with or the activity that you're doing. At the same time, it's also very important to be aware of what we're saying to ourselves every day and whose voices are echoing in our heads. What goes on in your head when the world is quiet? Are these our own thoughts, or have we accidentally internalized judgments from the past, be it from family, friends, or even strangers? When you call yourself ugly, is it really you saying that? Or did a sibling or school bully call you that once when you were a child and you've accidentally internalized it? When you say you can't dance, is it because you heard someone say that to you 10 years ago and you've put off dancing ever since? And when you think yourself a failure, is that also really you? Or are you actually secretly really proud of yourself and how far you've come, but you've just been pushed too hard as a child? The voices in our heads can spark from the tiniest interactions, and only once we are aware of our feelings and what causes them can we start to address them. One of my favorite quotes about this is, "I saw a pattern and I broke it." But to be able to break that pattern or that loop or to heal that wound, we must first acknowledge that it is there. So far, we have looked into one of the possible root causes of why we never feel like we're good enough, as well as the first step in the healing journey, which is awareness. In the next part of the video, I'm going to be talking about some possible solutions to combat this feeling. And it all boils down to self-love. Self-love is the practice of caring for and valuing ourselves. It involves recognizing and accepting our own worth, appreciating our talents and flaws, and nurturing a wholesome and positive relationship with ourselves. It is embracing yourself with the conviction that you are perfect the way you are. When we genuinely love ourselves, external factors lose their power to bring us down. We won't feel the need to measure our self-worth against any external yardstick. Self-love isn't narcissism. It's not the, "Oh my god, I'm so great, I'm so amazing, everyone bow down, worship me." No, it's not that, okay? Self-love is quiet. It's how you talk to yourself, it's how you show up for yourself, and how you treat yourself when nobody is watching. The kind of love that you would extend to your best friend or someone that you really care about. And it is also a journey, one that I've been personally embarking on since my late teens, and there are still days where it is a challenge. There is a sea of resources online on cultivating self-love, but for the next segment of this video, I'm going to be talking about some methods that have significantly made a difference in my life over the years. The first thing we can do is use our words. Your words are your power. Remember how we talked about being aware of what we say to ourselves and whose voices are in our heads? When we don't love ourselves, we find it really difficult to discern the truth from the lies. We may end up internalizing a lot of the negative things said to us. And one way we can change this is by replacing the negative thoughts with positive ones through positive affirmations. In very simple terms, affirmations are positive phrases or statements that counteract these negative thoughts and help boost motivation and self-esteem. Research even shows that certain neural pathways are increased when people practice self-affirmation tasks. When I was in my teens and early 20s, I used to practice positive affirmations by saying nice things about myself in front of the mirror or writing it down on sticky notes and putting it on my room wall. Things like, "I am beautiful, I am loved, I am worthy of love, I can do anything I set my mind to." Nowadays, every time I find myself needing that reminder, I would either grab my journal or pull out the Notes app on my phone. Words have power, and once we get really good at replacing those negative thoughts with positive ones, we take away their hold over us. The next thing we can do is take action. We've all heard of the saying, "Fake it till you make it." And interestingly, it's also backed up by science. In cognitive behavioral therapy, acting as if is a technique designed to encourage individuals to adopt the mindset and behaviors of the person they aspire to be, even if they doubt their abilities or face challenges at first. This helps build self-confidence and creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, where the mind and the body work together to manifest positive change. A lot of successful people employ this technique, and I think it works for self-love as well. One way to do this is by asking yourself, especially when you're feeling down, how would a person who truly loves themselves act in this situation? Would they spend the next 2 hours picking apart their flaws and calling themselves names? Or would they get up and get themselves something nice to eat, or call up a friend, or watch their favorite TV show? I personally find this to be very helpful. Taking action also provides tangible evidence to shatter limiting beliefs or to prove those negative voices wrong. As an example of this, I'm going to tell you guys a personal story. So when I was around 14 or 15, I went to this school dance. It was kind of like a prom. And I remember it being a really fun night. Like, it was such a nice breather from all the studying and all the preparing for our public exams and whatnot. So we had dinner, and at the end of the night, they played our favorite songs. So naturally, my friends and I, we got up and we started dancing. And we just danced the night away, had a lot of fun as teenagers do, right? And I remember the next day, I went to class and I was still beaming from all the fun that I had the night before, until one of my friends came up to me and told me that her friend told her that Ali can't dance. And you know what? For some reason, that comment stuck with me for at least the next 10 years. So because of that, I spent the rest of my teenagehood and my early adulthood believing that I was completely incapable of moving my body to music. And every time I wanted to dance, I would stop myself because it was so ingrained in me that I couldn't, that I would make a fool out of myself, you know? And it wasn't until I got fed up with this narrative sometime in my mid-20s that I decided to shatter this belief by signing up for dance classes again. And it was great. Like, I ended up having a lot of fun, and we even did a performance. Now, I am by no means a good dancer. I'm still a beginner. But just by taking action and challenging those limiting beliefs was all I needed to silence that voice in my head. Another way of taking action is by helping others. By shifting the focus away from ourselves and being in service to others, we not only make a positive impact in their lives, but also find fulfillment and purpose in making a difference. The next thing that helps with overcoming the feeling of not being good enough is setting healthy boundaries. Whether these boundaries are emotional or physical, it's worth assessing the triggers that make you feel inadequate or less than, and putting some distance between you and those triggers. This may include distancing ourselves with the people who don't treat us with the respect that we deserve, saying no to things that we feel obliged to do but don't actually want to do, turning down invitations to hang out with people who criticize way too much, or unfollowing certain social media accounts that constantly make you feel bad about yourself. When we grapple with a lack of self-worth, setting boundaries can seem like a very challenging thing, especially if it risks upsetting others. Putting some space between you and the source of what makes you feel horrible about yourself does not make you a bad person. It does not make you a selfish person. Self-care is not selfish. We're protecting our own well-being and sanity, and recharging and filling our own cup so that we have the capacity to care for others, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And when we have to set boundaries with the people who are close to us, such as our friends or our family members, it's not like a goodbye forever, I'm not going to talk to you again kind of scenario. It's more like a pause for you to take a step back and do anything you need to do to regain your peace. And once you're ready, you can re-engage. I think my newfound favorite quote on this is by Prentice Hemphill, who says that boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. To recap, being aware of our feelings, using the powers of our words and actions, and setting healthy boundaries are some of the things that we can do when we don't feel like we're good enough. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list of how you can incorporate self-love into your life, but these are some of the ways that have genuinely helped me over the years. To wrap up this video, I'm going to share with you a personal mantra/reminder that I would use during moments of doubt and insecurity. So here goes. You don't have to be anything more than who you are now. Just by existing, you are already worthy of love and care and all of the good things in the world. You don't have to try so hard, and you don't have to pretend. You're already beautiful and perfect just the way you are. Now go out there and be amazing. The world awaits. Thanks for watching.